we're talking additional moves for the Kings. We
Mm-hmm.
did a bunch of DeMar DeRozan yesterday, so trying to spin it forward, what could be next? And you have said that, hey, they're still out, they're still working behind the scenes, they're still trying to get some other moves done. One player that so we have a player I like, and then we got a trade idea from the Athletic. What do you think about KJ Martin? Goes about 6'6", really good athlete, can play the 2 or the 3. In his first 3 years with Houston, averaged 10.5 points, 4.8 boards, 1.3 assists. Shot 54.5% from the field. He was 34% from 3. So not great there. Really fell off last season with the Clippers and the 76ers. I think he's probably available for the vet min. Your thoughts?
Yeah, see, I think KJ Martin is the type of player the Kings need. If you were to go out and make that deal, so he can play the small. He can also, despite the fact that he's not very tall,
Mm-hmm.
he can shift over and play the 4 as well. 6'6", 215. And that's what I talk about, like when I bring up Malik Monk and like finding a lob threat. Like KJ Martin could easily be a lob threat. Like
Yeah.
the way that he plays, the way that he attacks the rim. I've always thought that that he's a player that the type of player, like we talk about this all the time. The Kings lack that super athlete in the post. The guy that like all of a sudden will just put somebody on a poster. And that's okay because the Kings, like when you sometimes like some of the trade out that they do is they do super high IQ basketball players who can shoot versus like super athletes. And it's not that there aren't super athletes that are also high basketball IQ players. There are, but like that's kind of where they go. They look for shooters and guys who can pass, guys who are multi-positional. But I do like that idea. It's the same thing I've brought up with like the Brandon Brandon Clark. The Jared Vanderbilts of the world. Like there are a lot of players and that are around the league that make sense that do what I'm talking about. Look at how much Naz Reid has impacted the Minnesota Timberwolves, and it's really tough to find another Naz Reid. But that's the type of player that the Kings could use.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. KJ Martin definitely plays bigger than 6'6". I just, when you talk about wing depth and athleticism, I think that's the kind of player that you'd feel good about at the end of your bench. I don't know that he's giving you like 25 minutes a night or anything, but as a veteran minimum option, I think that's the direction I would go for sure. I'm a big fan. Sam Vecini and the Athletic also had a trade idea that you brought to my attention this morning, where the Kings would be going out and getting kind of a little bit in this vein, as a front court mate for Domantas Sabonis, going and getting Isaiah Stewart from the Detroit Pistons. Was it Kevin Huerter in that deal?
Yes, that's what he proposed, just like kind of spitballing.
I'm so in on that.
Yeah.
I would do that so quick.
The problem, Isaiah Stewart, he's a small center. He's a 6'8" power forward / center. But the fact that he shoots 38.3% from 3, he can get you block shots. He averaged 1.3 blocks as a rookie playing center position, 1.1 in his second season, only 0.8 last year. But again, as you added minutes, he played. He blocked less shots, which is always interesting. A decent rebounder for his minutes played. I like him, but he is coming off injury, and he is a player who I think is on a 3-year. I think he's got 3 years at 15 mil a year, or it's possible it's 4 years at 15 mil a year. Yeah.
I'm in, dude. He's a dog. I'm all about Isaiah Stewart.
Yeah.
And
He's owed. It's a 460. It's a 460. He's owed 15 million on the button every year.
Dude, give me that every time. The Kings have and this is not anti Kevin Huerter. It is the Kings have a bunch of guards. Who fits, who doesn't. I think Kevin Huerter is probably the odd man out. And if you can go get Isaiah Stewart, who is a player that you'd feel great about being a big off the bench for you, who could start at the 4 or the 5 if Keegan Murray or Domantas Sabonis or whoever else is unavailable, I am so in on that idea. I love
Yeah,
it.
and Luke, I think that there are other players out there that could make sense, and someone brings up, like, Robert Covington. I don't think Jay Crowder has a home yet. Like, there are players out there that could be enforcers for this team, that
Mhm.
could actually play in your rotation, that are still available, that are just
Yeah.
older, that might make sense, you
And
know?
this is a good example of the way the calculus has shifted for what the Kings need.
Mhm.
Because before they got DeMar DeRozan, we were talking about Kyle Kuzma, Brandon Ingram, and Lauri Markkanen. And I guess you could still talk about Kuzma and Markkanen, but we'll table that for a second. But now all of a sudden, that need for the extra wing or the wing depth can be, yeah, Robert Covington, who's primarily going to be a defensive focused player, and he can shoot a three. Same thing with Jay Crowder, where the offensive output necessary from them is commensurate with what they're going to give you.
Mhm.
It's not, yeah, Jay Crowder, and let's hope that he can give you a career year on offense. It's
Yeah.
not. It's no. He's going to be an enforcer. He's going to be a reserve big. When you play against LeBron James or Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown or whoever, like pick your big wing. He can go give you real minutes on them and do so credibly.
Well, that and I think it's about finding players that, number one, when the Kings brought in DeMar DeRozan, um,
Mhm.
he instantly became like their third best player. And now your
Yeah,
second, your first two, you know who they are, but your fourth and your fifth, you're not sure who they are. It's either Keegan Murray or it's Malik Monk, but that's a good thing. You just like those guys slot into better positions there. And now you
yeah,
start looking at your sixth best player, your seventh best player, your eighth best player. But also when you look at some of these guys, you're looking at, where's Jalen McDaniels in all this? And can you find players that are better than him that can slot above him? So
yeah.
it's complicated, but it's all a big puzzle.
You broke my heart this morning when you informed me that Trendon Watford had signed his tender with the Nets and would be returning to Brooklyn. I loved Trendon Watford as the small ball five. I was all about
Yeah.
it.
Sorry about that,
And
buddy.
then you went, no, sir. He is no longer available. Like literally, when I wrote this down last night, he was available.
Hmm.
And then by the time I got into the rundown this morning, he was no longer available. But like you said, there's now a ton more options out there for Sacramento and players who can help them in different ways, where they don't need to be these offensive juggernauts because they have the four guys that you feel really really good about offensively, maybe even five guys that you feel really good about offensively, giving you between 15 and 25 points a night, and that puts you in a pretty good spot on that side of the ball.